All right. Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Dear students, today we are going to talk about a very important, which is called Central Asia, strategic significance of Central Asia. And this region is very important as far as global energy market is concerned. And recently we had a question related to this region in the competitive examination. So I'm guessing that in future, in coming competitive examination, they may ask about Central Asia and its importance. Why major powers, including China, Russia, EU, India, and Pakistan, why they are involved in this region, and what is the significance of this region. So, as a whole, we are going to understand this region. Central Asia, there are 5 states in Central Asia, and they are also considered as the ex-Soviet states. Um, Ex-Soviet states का मतलब ये है कि Soviet Union was controlling these countries since long, and after 90s, when the Soviet Union, was economically crippled, these 5 states got independence. So we'll discuss about these states, states in coming slides. So primarily, there are 5 states: Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan. So these are the 5 states in Central Asia, and this region has been, crossroad of different civilizations since long. So historical significance of this region is also, vivid from its position, that it has been a crossroad of different civilizations. For example, this region was crossroad of civilizations like the Silk Route, which originated from China, and it used to, pass through this vast region, which is called Central Asia, and it used to connect different civilizations. So these countries, these civilizations at that time, they were also having trade and investment with the Chinese, and the Chinese had their lucrative Silk Route, or you can say Silk trade with other civilizations like Japanese civilization in Southeast Asia, Indian civilization. It was also a rich civilization and one of the oldest civilizations. Then you got Persian civilizations, Arabian, Somalian, Egyptian, and the Europeans. So it has connected, since long it has connected different civilizations. So historically, this region, which is called Central Asia, has been a crossroad of different civilizations. And even today, it is very important, and we are going to discuss that in coming slides. In the recent history, this region, according to Halford Mikander, who was the, one of the greatest geographer, he said that he who controls Eurasia controls the destinies of the world, which means he considered this area, which is called Afghanistan, Russia, Central Asian countries. He called this area as pivot area, and he believed that he who controlled this area, that particular empire controls the destinies of the world. So this area was considered previously as pivot area, very important area. And why it is important area, we'll discuss that in coming slides. Because of the hydrocarbon resources, because of the huge amount of oil and gas resources, uranium, and the central position of this region, which is there. For example, the Russians are also, part of this particular area, which is called the pivot area. And today, the Europeans, they buy $100 billion of gas, natural gas, from the Russians, and their economies, their household, their daily life is totally dependent on the Russians on this region. So this is what we call pivot area. And today you have seen that Afghanistan is also part of this area, and Afghanistan, since long it has been focus of different say empires. Previously, the British Empire and the Tsar Russia, they have been fighting over Afghanistan. It was a buffer zone, and then the Soviets came to this region in Afghanistan in the 70s, and the Americans also jumped into this, and there was a a great game between these empires. Even today, Afghanistan is, facing global proxies, I would say. The United States of America, NATO countries, 49 states are there in Afghanistan. India, Pakistan, nuclear weapon states are involved in Afghanistan. So Chinese, Russians, Iranians, many other countries, they are also manipulating things in Afghanistan. So basically, Afghanistan is a grand chessboard where different empires, different countries, they are manipulating things. And why they are manipulating things, we need to understand that because of the huge amount of resources which are there in this region, which is called Central Asia. So as I told you before, Central Asia, it has got 5 states. Kazakhstan is the largest landmass country in this region. Then you got Uzbekistan, then you got Kyrgyzstan, then you got Tajikistan and Turkmenistan. Okay, remember one thing, Azerbaijan is not part of Central Asia. Okay, so this region, because this whole region, 5 states, and then there is a contiguous lake which is called Caspian Sea. Actually, this is not sea, this is a large, huge lake. And because of its, position, this region, considered this particular area considered as Caspian Sea. We'll discuss about that later on. So let's first of all analyze the importance of this region. And this region is important because of the hydrocarbon resources. For example, the Caspian Sea region, it possesses huge amount of oil, and according to different estimates, this region possesses, about 233 billion barrels of oil. It's a huge quantity of oil which is there. Now, the 5 states, they control Caspian region. Russia, Kazakhstan, then you got Azerbaijan, then you got Turkmenistan, and of course Kazakhstan. So these states, and Iran, sorry. So 5 states, they control the this region, which is called Caspian region, and this region holds huge amount of resources which are equal to 233 billion barrels. Now, the largest producer of oil in today in modern time is Saudi Arabia with 269 billion barrels of oil. And these resources, 233 billion barrels proven oil reserves in Caspian Sea, makes this region very important. And this region is also regarded as New Middle East by the different, analysts. So this region is very important, number one. Number two, Kazakhstan is the largest landmass country in this region, and they also possess huge amount of oil and gas resources. Like for example, they have got about 32 billion barrels of oil and about 15 trillion cubic feet of gas. So that is the importance of Kazakhstan for you. And then you got Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. These 2 states, they don't possess huge amount of oil and gas, but their importance is because of the hydro, you can say the electricity and the water resources. These countries are rich in these resources, and they supply water, electricity, cheap electricity to the region. Then you got Uzbekistan, which also holds small but significant oil and gas resources. They possess about 105 trillion cubic feet of gas, which is huge amount of gas. But oil resources in Uzbekistan are small and meager. Turkmenistan is rich in oil and gas, and their oil reserves are 39 billion barrels, but their gas reserves are huge, and it is close to 155 trillion cubic feet. So guys, this is the reason that the major powers, they are involved in this region. They are eager to get share of this region. Okay, so what is the other significance of this region? Why major powers are involved in this region, we have already discussed. Now let's understand this region in detail. For example, this region is surrounded by many strong countries. For example, Russia. Russia shares about 6,000 kilometers border with Kazakhstan, and this region, Russia has been there, you can say father, and even today Russians, are the daddy of this region, because the Russian influence is still there. Their political influence, economic and strategic influence is there on these 5 states, which is called Central Asian powers. Now, previously they were part of Russia. Now they are not beyond the influence of Russia. Even today, Russia is there. So Russia shares about 6,000 kilometer border with these countries, and Russia is a veto power. Russia is a nuclear weapon state, the largest nuclear weapon states in the world right now. And Russia got a political, economic, and strategic clout in the world. That makes Russia the most, powerful country right now in the world. One of the most powerful country, I would say. Okay, so what are the Russian interest in this region? So Russian primarily, their primary interest in this region, which is called Central Asia, are the political hegemony. Russia want to maintain their political hegemony, and Russia believe that this region belong to Russia, and no other power can, ingress or control this area. That is the reason that Russia kicked out America from this region when America wanted, to extend the lease of Manas Air Base in Kyrgyzstan. And the other point, the Indians also wanted a base in Tajikistan, but the Russians, they did not allow India to get that base, because Russia India wanted to have a station there, aircraft there. So Russia believed that this region belongs to Russia, it is their playground, and they are not going to allow any major power to play any strategic role in this region. So Russian interests in this region are primarily political. Secondly, the second important, interest of Russia in this region and beyond, from this region to Afghanistan, their interest is security. Now, what are the security interests of Russia? They originate from, non-traditional, aspect of the security: terrorism and extremism. The Russians have been fighting terrorism and extremism since long in the Chechnya, in the Dagestan, Caucasus region. So today, Russia is facing a renewed threat from terrorist organizations like IMU, Islamic Movement of Uzbekistan, and of course, Islamic State Khorasan province. Now, I hope everyone knows about the Islamic State Khorasan province. It's a offshoot of ISIS from Iraq and Syria, and this group, they have got shelter in Afghanistan, and this group is centered in Nangarhar province of Afghanistan, and they consist of Pakistanis, Afghan Taliban, and Chechens, Russians, Uzbeks. So all these people are there, and these people are also against the Russians, because Russia was actively involved in Syria. So Russia hit these people in Syria, and now these people, like Islamic State Khorasan province, they are also now conspiring, because they have got the Russians in their ranks, like the Chechens and the Dagestanis. So this is another concern which involved Russia in this region, and Russia plays their role through SCO, through CSTO. These are the organization, regional organization, through which the Russians, they control and control or eradicate terrorism and extremism from this region. So this was Russia, a dominant power, a very powerful country. Then you got China. Now, China shares about 3,000-kilometer border with, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. So Russia, China is also a very powerful country. This is the second largest economy in the world right now. Their population is, I think, more than 1.41 billion. They are the second largest economy. They are going to be likely to be the number one economy in future. Now, that's China for you. The Chinese got two interests in this region. One is economic, and two is security. Okay, economic, as I told you before, that they are the second largest economy. They have got huge population, 1.41 billion. So they want to sustain that population, and to sustain that population, to sustain their economic growth, they need more and more resources. So this is the reason that the Chinese have also connected this region, because they share border with this region, 3,000-kilometer border. So Chinese have connected this region through their new Silk Route initiative. So I told you about previously about the old Silk Route, which connected China with the rest of the world through this region. And now Chinese have come up with new initiative, which is also called as New Silk Route, BRI, Belt Road Initiative, or OBOR, One Belt One Road Initiative. So these are the initiatives through which the Chinese are going to connect their economy, their country, with the rest of the world, or with the regional powers and with the extra regional powers. For example, Chinese have invested about $45 billion in Central Asia today, just to connect, just to develop land routes, just to develop, pipelines and other infrastructure development, which is taking place in this region. So China has connected their country with the resources in Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and Caspian Sea region, just to extract resources from this region to sustain their economic growth. So this is the first interest of China in this region. The second interest is ETIM, or security. The Chinese are very much concerned about the security situation in their western province, which is called Xinjiang province, and the Uyghur population, which is fighting against the Chinese dominance and which is fighting against the Chinese, subjugation. That population is basically a Muslim population. They are about 8 to 9 million, and the same people, the same ethnic group is living in Kazakhstan, in Tajikistan, in Uzbekistan, in Kyrgyzstan. So these people are basically ethnically they are Turkestanis, they are Uyghurs, and the Chinese believe that China should, bar these countries from Central Asia to not to support these group, not to support these countries. Why? Because China share about 3,000-kilometer border. It's a huge border. So China would like to ensure that they don't get any support from across the border. And China, this is the reason that the Chinese have invested about $46 billion in Central Asia. So that is the major issue for China. So China got two major interests, which I told you before: economy and security. Then comes to, let's now discuss the EU, for example, Europeans, why they are involved in this region. Europeans, um, um, 94% of their oil and gas needs by 2030 would be from other countries by 2030. So which means that they are going to import 94% of their energy requirements from other countries, oil and gas from other countries, like for example Latin America, Persian Gulf, or other areas like African countries, or the most suitable one is the Central Asian powers or the Central Asian region. So EU is very much interested, and after the dismemberment of Soviet Union, and when these states got independence in '92, EU approached these countries, Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan, and they carried out deal of the century with these states in Caspian region. So what was the deal? The deal was aimed to improve, to develop oil and gas rigs in this area, and the idea was to and why the Russians did not play any role at that time, because Russia was not in a position to play any role. Russia had nothing to offer to these states economically. So when the Europeans came with economic benefits, with the packages, so Russia did not intervene at that time, because Russia was not in a position to play any role or offer any monetary benefits to these countries. So they needed help from other countries. So European came to this region in '94, and they carried out deal of the century. So their interest in this region is primarily linked with their oil and gas needs. So that's what they are involved, and that's what they are focused on. Then you got another major power, which is the superpower in the world right now. They are the dominant power in the world right now, military, economic power with huge political clout, veto power, America. So why the Americans are involved in this region? They have got three main interests. First, it was the strategic space. The Americans wanted to have strategic space in this region. So they had previously they had no idea that how to grab a space in this region. So counterterrorism, which was the second you can say interest, they got a chance after 9/11 to come to this region. So after 9/11, the Americans came to this region. They got bases in Turkmenistan, in Kyrgyzstan, in Tajikistan, in Uzbekistan initially, just to attack Afghanistan. Initially, they got they got a few small scale help from these states, which were called as the neighboring states of Afghanistan. The main help came from Pakistan. Pakistan provided the United States of America with logistic line. Every day, I think we have already discussed that every day 300 trucks at the peak used to pass through Pakistan. So basically, the main and Pakistan also provided them with air bases like Dalbadin, Jacobabad, Ormara, Pasni, and others. Shamsi Air Base, for example. So at the same time, the Americans also got bases in Manas Air Base in Kyrgyzstan, and then they also got some space in Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. So the idea was to utilize these bases just to carry out counterterrorism operations in Afghanistan. One, number two, to have a strategic space in this region. Now, why they wanted a strategic space in economically important region? They had four objectives at that time. The first objective was to contain Russia, because Russia, if America is here, So Americans can easily protect their interest, number one, and they can keep close eye on Russia, which is a dominant power in this region, and they can challenge the Russian hegemony in this region. Secondly, they also wanted to keep check on China, which is again their economic rival in the world right now. And the Chinese are, rapidly they are improving, rapidly they are growing, and it is expected that in future they are going to be the number one economy. And thirdly, the Americans wanted to keep check on Iran as well, because Iran also shares significant border with these countries like Turkmenistan and Caspian Sea region. And Iran is aspiring to be a nuclear weapon state, though they don't have a nuclear weapon right now, and they are not pursuing nuclear weapons program. But it is expected if they get stability, they may get nuclear weapons in future. So the Americans were very much concerned. They don't want to expect another Muslim country to get nuclear weapons. They would never like it, because if Iran gets nuclear weapon, it would be a serious and direct threat to Israel, because Iran has always threatened Israel. It has always supported the proxies which attacked Israel, for example, Hamas, Hezbollah, and Shiite militias in Iraq and Syria and other places. So the Americans, uh, their stay in Afghanistan since 2001, they kept close eye on Iran, and they used to spy on Iran from Afghanistan, and their drones were many times over. Their drones were captured by Iran. So ultimately, the American interest was to keep check on Iran, so it could not, become a nuclear weapon state. So this was the third major country interest objective of the Americans to be here in this region. The fourth objective was to keep close eye on Pakistan as well, because Pakistan is the only Muslim country with nuclear weapons. And the Americans and the Europeans, they never absorbed that why Pakistan became a nuclear weapon state. So to be here in Afghanistan, in Central Asia, the Americans wanted to keep close eye on Pakistan. और उसके बाद आपको याद है कि जब टेररिज्म के हालात बढ़े थे ना, तो in 2009 there was a report that Americans, they deployed a force with the name NUSEC nuclear security के नाम से, they deployed a force in Afghanistan. और इसके अंदर उनके स्पेशल जहाज थे, हेलीकॉप्टर्स थे, स्पेशल फोर्सेस थी, और ट्रेन्ड लोग थे टू हैंडल न्यूक्लियर मटेरियल एंड न्यूक्लियर वेपन्स. आइडिया ये था कि if things gets worse in Pakistan, and if militants they take control of Pakistan, so the Americans will come, they will take out Pakistani nuclear weapons and they will go home. तो अपनी कंटीजेंसी प्लान्स उन्होंने रखे हुए थे. सो देयर वन ऑफ द ऑब्जेक्टिव वाज टू कीप चेक ऑन पाकिस्तान एज वेल. लेकिन हलवा तो नहीं है, पाकिस्तान इज अ न्यूक्लियर वेपन स्टेट, पाकिस्तान इज वेरी पावरफुल कंट्री अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, and if they can make nuclear weapons, they can certainly protect their nuclear weapons. So this was another American objective in this. So primarily, and the fifth objective was counterterrorism. America wanted to be here in this region just to counter different type of transnational terrorist groups like Al Qaeda mainly, and then many linked groups like with Al Qaeda like IMU, Islamic Movement of Uzbekistan, and there's a long list of other terrorist organizations, but mainly the focus was Al Qaeda. So these were the interest of United States of America also in this region. America also had another interest. I forgot to tell you that America wanted to secure oil and gas pipelines from Azerbaijan share of Caspian Sea. As you can see, here is Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan is not part of Central Asia. Let me repeat that again. It is, but they have got share in the Caspian Sea region, which is also linked with the Central Asian countries. So Caspian Sea region was very important for the Americans as well. And the Americans in 2005 secured a pipeline from Caspian Sea region, from which originate from Baku, Azerbaijan, and it connects Sian, Turkey port city, and from Turkey it goes to the European countries. So this was the American effort, which they wanted to secure oil and gas pipeline for their allies, for example, the European countries, because they are also directly linked with the American economy. So, guys, this was the role of major powers in this region. And then let's discuss about India and Pakistan as well, because we are also major powers. We are nuclear weapon states, and we have got a significant population as well. Pakistan is about 22 million, and the Indians are about 1.39 billion. So both countries, for example, India, for example, their economy is big. Their economy is about $2.9 trillion. It is growing at a rapid pace of about 11% per year in 2021, and at the same time they are a big population of 1.39 billion. Now, to sustain such a big population and to sustain such a huge, you can say, resources, they need more and more resources to support their population, to generate opportunities for their population. So the idea was to get more and more resources from where they from from any part of the world. So this is the reason that the Indians are also involved in this region, especially in Kazakhstan, Kazakhstan's share of Caspian Sea region, and they're developing, oil and gas fields of Kazakhstan. Secondly, the Indians also wanted a space here in Tajikistan, Aini, Fakhrabad, and Tajikistan is very close, in close proximity with Pakistan. So the idea was to secure a base in Aini Fakhrabad in Tajikistan, and from there they can launch surgical strikes inside Pakistan. So this was the idea behind, but the Russians did not allow India to get a base, military base in this region. So this was the issue for the Indians. So India is here in this region for economic purposes, to secure gas pipeline as well, which is going to originate from Turkmenistan, and it is going to enter Afghanistan and then Pakistan and India. That is called TAPI. That's a $7.6 billion project. Secondly, the Indians are also, interested in, a huge amount of uranium reserves in Kazakhstan, which is the third largest country with uranium reserves. And India is now expanding its nuclear program, so they need more and more such resources to support their nuclear energy program. And thirdly, India is also targeting, a 70 million population of this region. It is a small but significant population which India can challenge. So India is here for primarily for economic purposes, and secondly for the strategic purposes, just to, create troubles for Pakistan and just to create, problems for Pakistan. So this was just a snapshot of Central Asia and the countries around. And if you got any question, you can ask in the meanwhile. Otherwise, we'll move on. So this region has been very important region. Let me give you now the snapshot of this region, brief background of this region again. Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. These are the 5 states of this region. It is you're also having a contiguous region area, which is called the Caspian Sea. It's a landlocked lake, which is about 1,000 kilometer long, about 450 kilometer wide, and 1,000-meter depth. So this region, holds huge amount of oil and gas resources, and 5 states, they control Caspian Sea region: Russia, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, and Iran. So 2 states from Central Asia, they have got share in the Caspian Sea region. And other than that, Russia, Azerbaijan, and Iran, they also have got share in this particular region. So guys, this was just a backgrounder about Central Asia. I'll send you the link again because it is going to end now. So we'll just finish this lecture today. Give me just 2 minutes. I'll send you the link again.